Hey guys, McBoxMono here, and today I'm bringing you a video on how to improve on hitting your Vel'Koz Qs. Before we dive in, let me explain why hitting your Q is so important. So, here are my win conditions for pretty much every Vel'Koz game I play. Hit your skill shots and position safely. Positioning safely we can go and investigate in another video, but in order to see why hitting Plasma Fission is so important, let's look at Vel'Koz's other abilities. As you can see by this neat chart that took me 10 minutes to make because I suck at Photoshop, all of Vel'Koz's spells serve a specific purpose. So, his Q is the spell that focuses on harassing the enemy. The more times you hit your Q, the more often the enemy is going to have a harder time defeating you in lane or in the game in general. But here's the catch. Hitting your Q is generally difficult to hit. As someone who has spent many hours playing Vel'Koz, I can tell you that the difference between being good at Vel'Koz and struggling as Vel'Koz is hitting this ability. Once I started comboing my opponent by using Q to poke and such, when I started winning more games. So more Qs I hit, more games I won. This spell is vital to winning, and here's how you do so. So there's two ways you can hit this ability. First, you go your straightforward Q. So not much to discuss. It's literally throwing a skill shot straight at your enemy, not much complexity to it. Just know that throwing your Q straight forward goes slightly farther than your W if you choose to harass that way. I use this method to kite in teamfights and kiting back from enemies because of how strong the slow is and it's easier to hit. Now this is where things get tricky. The other way to hit your Q is by hitting your opponent with a second activation. It's hard to consistently hit your Q with this method, but once you do, you'll become extremely effective in lane and be a huge lane bully. But it relies a lot on predicting your enemy's movement, so that's why it gets tricky. Oftentimes when I hit this spell, I shoot the initial Q one direction, aiming the Q to go the other direction shown on the screen now. This is often how I fire my Qs and how strong Vel'Koz players typically use their spells as well. It's also worth noting that most opponents typically try dodging the second activation of the Q by dodging inwards, or at least many opponents I have faced in Gold and Plat Elo. The reason why they would dodge the spell by walking towards me is because they see the max range indicator of the spell, so they try to move inwards. Otherwise they would have to extend past the range indicator, which could cause them to miss CS or miss an ability that would try to inflict on you. So activating the second Q right before the max range indicator is what has worked best for me. It's also noteworthy that it doesn't matter if you miss several Qs, it has a low mana cost, and even if you get close to hitting your enemy, you're still causing a lot of lane pressure, which is very important. But how do you improve on hitting your Qs? Well, here's the easiest answer. Practice. Yes, it might sound obvious, just practicing Vel'Koz in your games. But specifically, play Vel'Koz support. Support Vel'Koz's main goal is to harass by maxing Q and hit your enemies from afar. You'll be more focused on hitting your skill shots because you don't have to worry about farming at all, and will therefore help you focus on the mechanic of landing your ability. And also, Frost Queen's claim is really good right now, so support Vel'Koz is really strong. I highly suggest it. But if you are skeptical, play around 5 to 10 support Vel'Koz games. I guarantee you'll be hitting more and more Qs every game. Plus, support Vel'Koz is a lot of fun. Like, seriously, go and try it. I'm not kidding. Anyways, thanks for watching. I stream pretty often and play a lot of Vel'Koz and give Vel'Koz commentary, so if you're interested in learning, feel free to check out my stream, and I also post a lot of stuff on Facebook and updates, so check that stuff out there. Yep, have a good one, guys.